This is a bust that I sculpted out of pottery clay, groggy water-based clay. And it's going to be the character that I'm making is the Queen of Clubs is the concept. But I've finished the basic clay. It's solid. I didn't even hollow it out because I'm not going to fire it. I decided to stop sculpting the ornamentation in water-based clay because I want to try this new technique of taking the dried, this is bone dry greenware, and I'm sticking air dry clay onto it to do the ornamentation. I'm using this Peppy, P-E-P-Y. It's made in Italy. It's pretty good, water-based air dry clay. I'm also using this air dry clay Das. It's made in Germany. And they both seem, so far, pretty much the same. They feel like they're made of very fine paper pulp mixed with some kind of glue. But what I like about them is, look at this ornamentation. You can kind of see the lumpiness that it's made of paper. But I want to try making some ornamentation on this sculpture and then sanding it. What I'm doing is a little framing motif here. I'm going to frame a little space here, frame a little space here, and then do some more framing here, little triangles. And then within those triangles, I'm going to
add a little bit of ornamentation that's symbolic of the earth, some earth signs that are associated with the Queen of Clubs. And I'll do some more ornamentation up here. But what I really want to do is just test out this technique, which seems to be working. The air dry clay, if you just brush the bone dry greenware, this air dry clay really does seem to stick to it without cracking when it dries. Unlike the pottery clay itself, which cracks when it dries after you've adhered it to the greenware. So anyway, that's what I'm doing, is sticking air dry clay, paper pulp based air dry clay, just hobby clay, onto the dried greenware as a way of creating ornamentation. Hi, Wendy and Carly. Thank you. Thanks, Carly. This is, like I was just saying, this is a bust that I've made out of water-based clay, out of pottery clay, and it's dried. So this is dried pottery clay, and it's bone dry. You can see how it really soaks up the water. And now I'm sticking just hobby air dry, oopsie, air dry clay to it to create an ornamental motif. And the idea of this piece is going to be the Queen of Clubs. And I'm creating a little sort of an Art Nouveau style framing motif. And inside of these spaces I'm creating, I'm going to add symbols for the earth signs, which are supposedly associated with the Queen of Clubs. Good luck at work. Work hard. Well, thanks for checking it out. Have a good work day, shift, or whatever it is. Thanks, Carly. She is the Queen of Clubs. My idea for the Queen of Clubs is she is not to be trifled with. This ornamentation that I'm adding to this Queen of Clubs bust is a kind of vaguely Art Nouveau-ish improvisational ornament. And the best improvisational ornament usually comes from not really having a strong aesthetic concept, but not a clear plan and not really knowing what you're doing at the moment, but being able to discern really clearly whether a particular line is what you want at the moment. And this line that I'm trying to develop over here to make another triangle is definitely starting. It's going to be good, but it hasn't developed yet into something that meets my concept. So I'm gonna just keep messing around with it and see what happens. And if nothing does, I'll let it dry and either sand it down or add to it later. Either way, something good is going to happen there. These contours are okay, sort of graceful, but they don't meet the aesthetic concept I've got for this framing motif. So I'm just going to keep messing around with them and see what happens. Hi, peaceful intake. Just doing a little sculpture here. I might be blocking it with my fingers, but I'm using air dry clay to add some ornamentation to a water-based pottery clay bust that's now just dry clay. And I found that this paper-based, I think Das is the German brand, and Pepi is the Italian brand of just paper pulp-based air dry clay, is really good for fixing ornament onto water-based pottery clay that's already dried, that's already bone dry. It sticks really well without cracking if you just brush it with water. And I'm trying to improvise some ornament here. That has a kind of a cursive flow, but also hopefully an Art Nouveau flavor to it. That's just water. What are we doing here? Pardon the shaky cam. This may seem slow, painstaking, and tedious, but actually, when you know that you're going to be able to make a rubber mold and cast who knows how many copies and of a sculpture and sell them, it makes it it makes you much more willing and able to lavish time and effort on the original because you know you're going to be reproducing it. And every time you take it out of the mold, if there are um, lazy spots where you were lazy and could have done better, you'll have to see it every time you take it out of the mold. I have sculptures that I did the original about 10 years ago, not realizing, kind of carelessly, which is fine, not not carelessly in a good way, but carelessly in a lazy way. And but they sell, so I'm still making copies out of rubber molds of those same sculptures. And every time I do it, I have to fix a little what I consider a mistake or a spot where I was lazy and I didn't add symmetry where there should have been symmetry. Okay. There's something about these contours that I'm not quite happy with. They look kind of sci-fi and less Art Nouveau than I would like them to be, but I'm going to let this go for now and just after it dries, I'll either sand it down to more, something less defined, which is fine, but I might add to it also. Let me try one thing before I go. These all have a particular type of divot. So let me try and see if I can't do that here. I want to add a kind of a cursive flow to these lines. Yeah, that's getting closer to what I want. Yeah, that's looking better. I think I'm getting a little more of what I'm calling cursive flow to this ornament here. I can live with that. Ask what the heck I'm doing if you're curious. Otherwise, just kind of enjoy looking. I'll show you. This is a clay bust of the Queen of Clubs. We're in trouble, not to be trifled with. And I'm adding ornament using just air dry clay stuck onto the dried pottery clay. And I'm finding it works. It really sticks. It works physically. It sticks to the pottery clay after it's dried. And then when the air dry clay dries, it doesn't crack up. It flexes and just leaves you with good ornament on the outside of your sculpture. Then when I'm all finished and everything's dry, I'm going to make a rubber mold and cast this in concrete. And I can cast as many copies as I want and sell them if people want them. If I can, I want to make a whole playing card series, so I'll have all the face cards. I've already got a Joker. Hold on a second. Check this out. That's my Joker. He's going to be holding a J in his hands. This is the dot over the J. But I'll have to resculpt this J because as the sculpture shrunk, it was too big. So I'll make another J. It goes like this. No, it goes like this. Yeah, there you go. J for Joker. He has a puppet of the king on his arm. This is very fragile, dried pottery clay, so the thumb broke off, but it's no problem. I'll make a rubber mold off of that, off the greenware, and then cast it in concrete. And this is my unfinished Queen of Diamonds and my unfinished Queen of Hearts, but you can't see them. They're in plastic. Back to the Queen of Clubs. No, I don't want that bounce right there. I want a more gradual upturn. Okay. Okay. Family calls. I gotta go. Thanks for joining. I'll be right back. Maybe tomorrow.